beauty standards, rebellion, and a world where being ugly might just save you. Today, we're diving into The Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, a dystopian novel that walked so Lookism could run. But this story isn't just about appearances. It's about questioning the rules of society, figuring out who you are, and deciding what really matters when everything around you is telling you to change. Let's talk about it. Tally is about to turn 16, and she's counting down the days. In just a few weeks, she undergo the operation that will transform her from an ugly into a stunning pretty. Think influencer-level fame, Instagram-worthy looks, and a life full of luxury. As a pretty, Tally will live in a high-tech paradise where the only thing on her agenda is fun, glamour, and being the next TikTok sensation. But then Tally meets Shay, who isn't so sure she wants to be part of this social media perfect world. When Shay runs away to live with a rebellious group who reject the idea of perfection, Tally is forced to make a choice: turn Shay in and secure her dream life, or remain ugly forever. This decision will change everything Tally knows about beauty, freedom, and what it means to be truly happy in a world obsessed with the perfect image. Start with Uglies. Tally's journey from ugly to pretty is a ride full of twists, rebellions, and serious food for thought about the world we live in. Whether you're looking for a thrilling dystopian adventure or a deeper exploration of beauty and identity, this book will have you hooked. And the best part, it's just the beginning of an unforgettable series. But that's for you to discover. The rusty ruins, a few blank windows stared down on them in silence from the husks of the giant buildings. Any glass had long since shattered, any wood had rotted, and nothing remained but metal frames, mortar, and stone crumbling in the grip of invading vegetation. Looking down at the black, empty doorways, Tally's skin crawled with the thought of descending to peer into one. Two friends slid between the ruined buildings, riding high and silent as if not to disturb the ghosts of the dead city. Below them, the streets were full of burned-out cars squeezed together between the looming walls. Whatever had destroyed this city, the people had tried to escape it. Tally remembered from her last school trip to the ruins that their cars couldn't hover, they just rolled along on rubber wheels. Rusties had been stuck down in these streets like a horde of rats trapped in a burning maze. Shay, you're pretty sure our boards aren't suddenly going to conk out, right? She called solely. Don't worry, whoever built this city loved to waste metal. They aren't called the Rusty Ruins because some guy called Rusty discovered them. Tally had to agree. Every building sported jagged spurs of metal sticking from its broken walls, like bones jutting from a long-dead animal. She remembered that the Rusties didn't use hover struts. Every building was squat, crude, and massive and needed a steel skeleton to keep it from falling down. And some of them were so huge, Rusties didn't put their factories underground, and they all worked together like bees in a hive instead of at home. Smallest ruin here was bigger than the biggest dorm in Uglyville, bigger even than Garbo Mansion. Seeing them now, at night, the ruins felt much more real to Tally. On school trips, the teachers always made the Rusties out to be so stupid. You almost couldn't believe people lived like this, burning trees to clear land, burning oil for heat and power, setting the atmosphere on re with their weapons. But in the moonlight, she could imagine people scrambling over aiming cars to escape the crumbling city, panicking in their fright from this untenable pile of metal and stone. Shay's voice pulled Tally from her reverie. Come on, I want to show you something. Shay cruised to the edge of the buildings, then out over the trees. Are you sure we can look down? Below, Tally saw metal glinting through the trees. Ruins are much bigger than they let on, Shay said. They just keep that part of the city standing for school trips and museum stuff. But it goes on forever. With lots of metal, yeah, tons. Don't worry, I've owned all over the place. Tally swallowed, keeping an eye out for signs of ruin below, glad that Shay was moving at a nice, slow speed. A shape emerged from the forest, a long spine that rose and fell like a frozen wave. It led away from them, off into the darkness. Here it is. Okay, but what is it? Tally asked. It's called a roller coaster. Remember, I told you I'd show you one. It's pretty. But what's it for? For having fun? No way. Yeah, way. Apparently, the Rusties did have some fun. It's like a track. They would stick ground cars to it and go as fast as they could. Up, down, around in circles, like hoverboarding without hovering. And they made it out of some really unrusty kind of steel for safety, I guess. Tally frowned. She'd only imagined the Rusties working in the giant stone hives and struggling to escape on that last, horrible day. Not having fun, let's do it, Shay said. Let's roller coaster. How? On your board. Shay turned to Tally and said seriously, but you've got to go fast. It's dangerous unless you're really moving. Why? You'll see, Shay turned away and sped down the roller coaster, ying just above the track. Tally sighed and leaned hard at her. At least the thing was metal. It also turned out to be a great ride. It was like a hoverboard course made solid, complete with tight, banked turns, sharp climbs followed by long drops, even loops that took Tally upside down, her crash bracelets activating to keep her on board. It was amazing what good shape it was in. Rusties must have built it out of something special, just as Shay had said. Track went much higher than a hoverboard could go on its own. On the roller coaster, hoverboarding really was like being a bird. It wound around in a wide, slow arc, circling back toward where they'd started. Now approach began with a huge climb. Take this part fast, Shay shouted over her shoulder as she zoomed ahead. Tally followed at top speed, rocketing up the spindly track. She could see the ruins in the distance, broken, black spires against the trees. And behind them, a moonlit glimmer that might have been the sea. It was really high. She heard a scream of pleasure as she reached the top. Shay had disappeared. Tally leaned forward to speed up. Suddenly, the board dropped out from under her. It simply fell away from her feet, leaving her ying through midair. Track below her had disappeared. Tally clenched her STS, waiting for the crash bracelets to kick in and haul her up by her wrists. But they had become as useless as the board, just heavy strips of steel dragging her toward the ground. Shay, she screamed as she fell into blackness. And Tally saw the framework of the roller coaster ahead. Only a short segment was missing. Suddenly, the crash bracelets pulled her upward and she felt the solid surface of the hoverboard coming up from under her feet. Her momentum had carried her to the other side of the gap. Board must have sailed along with her, just below her feet for those terrifying seconds of free fall. She found herself cruising down the track, to where Shay was waiting at the bottom. "You're insane," she shouted. "Pretty cool, huh?" "No," Tally yelled. "Why didn't you tell me it was broken?" Shay shrugged. "More fun that way." "More fun?" Her heart was beating fast, her vision strangely clear. She was full of anger and relief and joy. "Well, kind of, but you suck." Tally stepped from the board and walked across the grass on rubbery legs. She found a broken stone big enough to sit on and lowered herself shakily onto it. Shay jumped off her board. "Hey, sorry, that was horrible, Shay. I was falling, not for long, like seconds." "I thought you said you'd bungee jumped off a building." Tally glared at Shay. "Yeah, I did, but I knew I wasn't going to splat." "True. But you see, the RST time someone showed me the roller coaster, they didn't tell me about the gap. And I thought it was pretty cool. Ding out that way. Best time's the RST time. I wanted you to feel it too. You thought falling was cool?" "Well, maybe at RST I was pretty angry. Yeah, I definitely was." Shay smiled broadly. "But I got over it. Give me a second on that one, Skinny. Take your time." Tally's breathing slowed, and her heart gradually stopped trying to beat its way out of her chest. But her brain stayed as clear as it had for those seconds of free fall, and she found herself wondering who had found the roller coaster RST and how many other Uglies had come here since. "Shay, who showed you all this?" "Friends, older than me. Uglies like us, who tried to gear out how stuff works. And how to trick it." Tally looked up at the ancient, serpentine shape of the roller coaster, the vines crawling up its framework. "I wonder how long Uglies have been coming here. Probably a long time. You pass along stuff. You know, one person gears out how to trick their board, the next NDS the rapids, the next makes it to the ruins, and somebody gets brave enough to jump the gap in the roller coaster." Tally swallowed. "Or jumps it accidentally." Shay nodded, "but they all get turned pretty in the end." "Happy ending," Tally said. Shay shrugged. "How do you know it's called a roller coaster anyway? Did you look it up somewhere?" "No," Shay said. "Someone told me, but how'd they know?" "This guy knows a lot of stuff, tricks, stuff about the ruins. He's really cool." Something about Shay's voice made Tally turn and take her hand. "But he's pretty now, I guess." Shay pulled away and bit a fingernail. "No, he's not, but I thought all your friends." "Tally, will you make me a promise?" "A real promise?" "Sure, I guess. What kind of promise?" "You can never tell anyone what I'm about to show you. It doesn't involve free fall, does it?" "No." "Okay, I swear." Tally held up her hand with the scar she and Peary's had made. "I'll never tell anyone." Shay looked into her eyes for a moment, searching hard, then nodded. "All right, there's someone I want you to meet. Tonight." "Tonight? But we won't get back into town until..." "He's not in town." Shay smiled. "He's out here." And there you have it, Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, a story that's just as relevant today as it was when it first came out. From beauty standards to individuality, it's a novel that gets you thinking long after you've closed the book. If Tally's journey has piqued your interest, you'll definitely want to dive into this one. But don't stop there, let me know in the comments, would you turn pretty if you could? Or would you join Shay in fighting against the system? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more stories that spark conversations. And hey, share this video with a friend who's all about TikTok trends or Instagram aesthetics. They might just find their next favorite book. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious and keep reading.